Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to another lecture on readings in literature. We were discussing the chapter titled Nightmare, which is written by Malcolm X. This chapter, Nightmare, is an extract from an autobiography. The autobiography title, The Autobiography of Malcolm X, which is written in 1965. The autobiography, which means it is the real events or incidents happened in the life of a person. It's not fictional, it reflects the reality. So, here we are studying a uh, brief life period of a person known as Malcolm. Who is Malcolm? Malcolm, he is considered as a strong advocate of black community. The term black community, when we listen or when we read that term, what image comes to your mind? Yes, the image of Africans. Usually, we use this term black people or black community to indicate the Africans. Malcolm X, he was an American born African. What is American born African? In earlier times, the Africans were brought into America as slaves. The white people, they crushed and destructed the personal lives of Africans, and they were considered mere slaves. And later on, many revolutions and movements were happen for the upliftment of Africans. Here, also, we are going to see how pathetic the situation of Africans in America in one time. Malcolm X, he was a victim of racial prejudice. Apartheid existed in America. Apartheid means the discrimination of people based on their color. So the Africans, their body color is black. For American, it is white. So always there was a conflict between the white and the black people. Here, in the beginning of the chapter, an incident is indicated. We have already discussed it, but I will repeat it once again, otherwise, the continuation will not be there. There was an incident. What was that incident? That incident occurred even before Malcolm X born. When Malcolm X's mother was pregnant with him, one day a group of people, a Ku Klux Klan army, who is Ku Klux Klan army, it is an American group who wanted to distract the black people. So they came to the house of Malcolm X. They were living in Omaha at that time. They were in search of Malcolm X's father. Why they are in search of Malcolm X's father? Because Malcolm X's father, he is his name is All Little. He is a black Baptist. So by religion they were Christians, and he was by profession Malcolm's father was a preacher. But rather than preaching religious lectures, he was the follower of Marcus Garvey. Actually, he was preaching for the upliftment of Africans in America. So I told you he was the follower of Marcus Garvey. Who was Marcus Garvey? Do you remember? He is a Jamaican political activist, because at that time many Africans, they wanted to end the slavery and they wanted to go back to Africa. That movement is known as Back to Africa movement. So this Marcus Garvey, he was a preacher. He was a leader who is working hard for the benefits of black people in America. So Malcolm's father, he was also a follower, and there was a organization titled as UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association. So Malcolm's father was associated with that association. Okay, and then we came to know about some of the family background of Malcolm. Malcolm was the seventh child of his parents, and after that he was followed by one more child. So there were total eight children in his family. And we also came to know that out of these eight children, Malcolm X's father, he favored Malcolm a little more, but because of his color, because he is a light-skinned boy. Light skin, usually the African they have black skin. So because of this color of their skin, the people are getting segregated in the society. So usually there was a trend at that time. The Negroes or the black people itself, they favored light-skinned children. It is because of that racial discrimination existing in the society. It is because of the white domination. Because white people always favor the white people or light-skinned people. Why Malcolm has this light skin? Because Malcolm's mother, she was born in Grenada, and she looks like a white woman. Actually, Malcolm's grandfather, that is maternal grandfather, who was a white man. Okay, actually, that white man who raped Malcolm X's grandmother and Malcolm X's mother was born in that way. So, because of that white ancestry, Malcolm possessed this light skin, and it helped him to get the favor of his father. But the mother, she doesn't have any distinction among her children. Whenever he do something, she used to whip him. Whip means beat him. Whether the child is black or white, it doesn't matter to the mother. So that is a universal truth, because mothers, they equally love their children. And as I said earlier, Malcolm X was a preacher who is preaching against the white people. One day, what happened in their life? Yes, the Black Legions, a group who is working against the black people. They one day they rushed towards the home of Malcolm and they burned down their home. They became homeless. They were thrown into the street. Okay, so after that incident, what happened? Malcolm and his entire family, they moved to another place, that is East Lansing. So at that time, the Negroes, the Negro community, the black community were very less in East Lansing regime, and they moved there, and Malcolm's father, he had already built a home for his family. That home consists of 4 rooms. See the character of Malcolm's father. Malcolm's father, he was very conscious about the safety of his family. See that we can see here. That's why he has already preserved a home for his family. So likewise, they moved there, and even after that, the white army, they used to visit their home in search of a gun because Malcolm's father he possessed a .22 rifle. When the Black Legion army destructed their previous house, Malcolm's father he used that gun against the white army men. So because of that, the white people, the white army, they used to visit their home and they will say that we are looking for a gun. But they couldn't never find that gun from. They couldn't never seize that gun from Malcolm's house. And Malcolm also revealing another thing, how was the relationship between Malcolm's mother and father. So it says that there was a friction between my father and mother. So there was their relation was not that much harmonious, and his father used to beat his mother. Why? Because the most important reason is I told you the white ancestry of Malcolm's mother, and she was an educated woman. But Malcolm's father, though he is a preacher, though he is a religious man, though he is a follower of Marcus Garvey, and who is raising his voice for the upliftment of black people, he was not an educated person. So when we compare an educated person with an uneducated person, we can see a lot of distinctions between them. So being an educated woman, being a wife, Malcolm's mother, she tries to correct Malcolm's father in many ways. He didn't like that. Though she used some smooth words, he was hesitant to accept or listen what she was saying. So finally, it will end up in a fight. And Malcolm also saying that Malcolm's father he was belligerent towards all of the children because he was hostile. He didn't like his children. He had 8 children, but except Malcolm, he was hostile towards all other children. But mother, she was not like that. She loved everyone. At the same time, she used to beat. She used to get angry with children. So she was like that only. And also here in this paragraph, he also says that most Negro parents in those days would love the darker ones. Sorry, would almost have a favor towards the lighter ones. They don't want darker ones. It is the reflection of white supremacy that they have been following for a long time. നമുക്കും അറിയാം നമ്മളൊരു കാര്യം ഒരുപാട് കാലം ശീലിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ അറിഞ്ഞോ അറിയാതെ നമ്മുടെ ലൈഫിന്റെ ഭാഗമായി മാറും. So even if they are black, there was a complex in their mind. Okay, we are black people, so being black, we will not enjoy, we couldn't enjoy some privileges in the society. They were aware of that. So white people are ruling people. So white people always favor the white itself. So having a child with a light skin, it becomes a happy moment for black people. So that was the thing. ബ്ലാക്ക് പീപ്പിളിൻ്റെ ഇടയിൽ തന്നെ ബ്ലാക്കിനോടുള്ളൊരു അവേർഷൻ അത് ലോങ് പീരീഡുള്ള വൈറ്റ് സുപ്രീമസിയുടെ ഒരു റിഫ്ലക്ഷനാണ്. Then he says that his father, Malcolm says his father is a visiting preacher. He used to visit many church for preaching. But during his preaching, what he used to preach, so there was a famous or one of the favorite sermon of Malcolm that was that little black train is coming and you better get all of your business right. So whenever Malcolm's father was preaching in some churches, he used to remind the people, yes, the black train is coming. So there's a chance for you to go back to our own land. There's a chance to go back to Africa, to end up the slavery. Let's go back to Africa. So for that, what you have to do, you have to follow Marcus Garvey, the black train homeward. So that moment will be favorable to you. And here also he is referring one of the older brother of Malcolm, whose name is Filbert. So both of them used to accompany Malcolm's father, but Filbert he seems to be more religious. Okay, he used to visit the church and he used to listen to Christian sermons, but Malcolm was not like that. He was interested only in the preaching of his father, how the people are jumping, how the people are patiently listening his father. So he was very happy to see all these things. Okay, see, here Malcolm says that it was in his role as a preacher that my father had most contact with Negroes of Lansing. Okay, my father, who is a preacher, but in the role of a preacher, he communicated with the Negroes of Lansing. Okay, and at that time there was a notion among all the people. Okay, we are Negroes, and to get friendly with another Negro is a great thing. That was not that type of notion where existed at that time. And um, then, back when I was growing up, the successful Lansing Negroes were such as waiters and boot blacks. And here he is narrating or describing the life of Negroes at that time. And he is saying that at that time, the Negroes, they were not allowed to do any respected job or profession. Majority of black people were they were poor and jobless. Okay, even if they wish to engage in some good profession, the society won't allow them to do that. Okay, so the black people they were ended up as waiters or shoeshine boys in the street. These are the odd jobs they were allowed to do. And some Negroes they do have some jobs, but that was not white collar jobs. Some Negroes they possess huge amount of money. How do they possess it? It is through racketing and something like that. Okay, so good jobs were not allowed to perform by Negroes at that time. So that was the pathetic situation of black people at that time. Okay, then he says that how the poverty affected the Negroes. So there was a phrase in this paragraph in page number 84 that you can see that sometimes we have to eat the whole out of a donut. Do you know what is donut? Yes, donut. It looks like our vada. Okay, so there was a hole in the middle of donut. So it is vacant. Can you eat that whole of that donut or vada? No, it's not possible. So this phrase, in eat the whole out of a donut, which means that sometimes the black people, they do not have nothing to eat. And they are looking, see, in another phase you can say that pie in the sky. Sometimes they have to look for the pie in the sky. Pie, it's a food item. So they will look like this. So something we have to have. So looking pie in the sky means they don't have anything to eat at all. But Malcolm's family was not like that. They have enough food at their home. Okay. Somehow they managed, somehow his father managed to get, or he made sure that his family has sufficient food to eat. See the last phrase of this paragraph. White man had his here on earth. When white man have white men have everything on earth. The black people they do not have anything at all. This was the situation at that time. And he says that it was the preaching of his father mainly fed and clothed them. So whenever he go for preaching, he used to get food items and clothes. So, and he also did some other odd jobs rather than preaching to take care of his family. But there was a constant attack or harassment from the White Army because he was campaigning in favor of Marcus Garvey. Because every white people, White Army, they know that he's a preacher and he is preaching against the white people. But so there was a constant visit of white people at that time. And um, in general, Malcolm's father, he appeared to be a tough man. Okay. Um, and he also says that, so one day and already, so here it says that one day and already, she says that you are scaring the white folks to death. So one of the Negro women, he said that, hey man, hey preacher, you're scaring the white folks to death. Okay, you're a good preacher, you're a good organizer. So this is how he was famous for. And sometimes he took Malcolm along with him for the meetings of UNI, and he loved it. And Malcolm says that he can remember the hearing Adam driven out of the garden into the caves of Europe. Adam, who is Adam? Adam is considered the first man. But here, in this phrase, Adam means the black people. They were driven out of the garden in the caves of Europe. In Africa, they didn't have anything, so they were leading a life of poverty. At that time, white people they came and they picked the Africans to work in their estates, and slowly they became their slaves of the white people. So they were thrown out of their land in search of food. But actually, from that garden, they came to the caves of Europe. So he's saying that the Africa for the Africans, Ethiopians obeyed. So he's trying to instill the spirit among the Africans. See, Africa is for Africans. We all are Africans. We all are Negroes. So our land is for ours. So we have to awake. We have to go back. Okay. Then no one knows when the hour of Africa's redemption comes. And he said that we can't say that. We can predict when the redemption and saving come. So it is in the wind, it is coming. See that the upliftment. So we all are aware of this, aware of our situation now. Negroes പറയാണ്, it's coming. The wind is coming. The wind of awakening is coming. It's coming. One day, like a storm, it will be here. Like a storm, it will be here. And at that time, what you have to do, you have to go along with that storm. You have to go along with that wind because Africa is for Africans. So this is how Malcolm's father used to instill the spirit among the Negroes. And he also says that he always carry a big envelope along with him. I'm not reading all the lines by line, so you have to read it. I'm summing up, otherwise we can't finish this chapter. It will take a lot of lectures and that will be quite boring for you. That's why I'm skipping these lines and I'm summarizing the point. So he also says that his father always carry a big envelope along with him when he attended the UNIA meeting and when he go for preaching. So here, there's a picture. The millions of Negroes are thronged in parade behind the Garvey riding in the car. So that picture, the Marcus Garvey and his followers always give a positive spirit to the Negroes. Um, Whenever he attended a meeting or whenever he conducted a meeting and while they are closing the meeting, he used to say something. He used to chant this, up you mighty race. So this is how most of their meetings end. Up you mighty race. You can accomplish what you will. See how he is inspiring or encouraging the people. I have never understood why, after hearing as much as I did of these kinds of things, I somehow never thought then of the black people in Africa. My image of Africa at that time was of a naked savages, cannibals, monkeys, tigers, and streaming jungles. See, Malcolm, by birth he is a Negro. He is an African, but he haven't never seen Africa so far. So, in his imagination, Africa is a land of naked savages, cannibals, tigers in jungles. But that was not the real image. But see, they didn't even know about their own motherland. Then, um, next thing here he is saying about his mother. He says that his mother, she is always busy with household works. Okay, she is ironing, washing, cleaning, and fussing over 8 children. So this is how she spent her life. And one day there was an argument between his father and mother. We have already seen their marital relationship was not that smooth. What was that reason? Uh, See, one cause of friction was that she had a strong idea about what she wouldn't eat and didn't want us to eat. So, being a mother, she has decided I will not feed this type of food to my children, and I will not feed pork to my children, and I won't have it. And rabbit, I won't make them eat pork and rabbit. But one day, his father he wanted to have rabbit meat, and there was rabbits in their house itself. Um, and what happened? See, I have marked it here. I'm so sorry for the delay. Okay, this was one kind of argument between regarding the food, and he also says that sometimes he she used to beat me. Okay, for the mischiefs I have done. And then also he says that being he is also again he is mentioning that being the light one, my father he used to forward me, but my mother she didn't like that light skin of mine. See that contradictory version of the father and mother. So this is how his mother responded, seeing his light skinned body. Let the sun shine on you so you can get some color. See, his mother is a light skinned woman. She not light skinned, she's a white woman itself. But she wanted Malcolm's body should be dark. She wanted him to be a true black man in all aspects. So that is why she said that let the sun shine on you and you get some color. Because she didn't want that white color in her children because she was fed up of that color superiority. And sometimes Malcolm's elder brothers and sisters, after their schooling, they will be back to home and they will ask for some food items like biscuits and all. And if mother didn't give them, they won't protest. Okay, mother said no, then it's okay. But Malcolm was not like that. Whenever he wants something, whatever he wants, he used to ask for it. And if he couldn't get it, he will make noise. He will grab the attention of the neighbors. So usually when the children cry for unnecessary reasons, what will mothers do? They will used to whip them. They will used to beat them or they will scold them. So, in order to get the attention of others, the children will make loud noises to get the attention of others. So, this is how Malcolm do. Then finally, the mother will be fed up and she will give whatever he asks for. So he said that I have learned a life lesson from this thing. Okay, unless we ask for something, we won't get it. Okay, we should not keep quiet. Okay, we have to raise a voice. We have if we want something, we have to ask for it. This is what he learned from this incident. Then, and other than household works, here begins in this paragraph, we can say the last paragraph. His mother, she used to engage in some gardening works. He used to plant some, uh, especially vegetables, in their home garden. One day, Malcolm, he also asked his mother, "Give me a few portions and I will plant something." So he liked gardening and all, so he used to spend some time over there, and it was a great help for his mother too. Though he is a mischievous boy, he has some good characters or attitudes in his mind. And at the age of 5, he also started to go to school. Okay, and along with his other uh, s- uh, siblings, Wilfred, Hilda, Filbert, etc. So it was pleasant experience for him to attend the school. Because why he loves schooling? Because the number of Negroes studying in that school was less. So the white peer students, they didn't have much problem. Only a few Negroes are here, so it doesn't bother them. So they just adopt them. Okay. ഇപ്പോൾ ഒരുപാട് നീഗ്രോസ് ഒക്കെ ആണെങ്കിൽ അത് നീഗ്രോസ് ആണ് റേഷ്യൽ ഡിസ്ക്രിമിനേഷൻ വരുന്നത്. അത് കുട്ടികൾക്കിടയിലും ഈ റേഷ്യൽ ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡ് അവിടെ ഉണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ കുറച്ച് പേര് മാത്രമേ അവിടെ ഉള്ളൂ. ലാൻസിങ് ഏരിയയിൽ നീഗ്രോസ് കുറവായതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ. So the white people, they used to adopt them. Let it be. Let the white people address them as nigger, darky, rasto. So these are some nicknames provided to these people. So though they have some official names, they were never addressed by that name, especially by the white people. Uh, but the Negroes, they considered it as their own natural names because they were under the white supremacy for a long time. So they considered it as a natural name, and they think that it's not an insult. Okay, they're calling us our natural names. This is uh, how they believed. But in 1931, when they were coming back, when they came back from school, they have seen an argument. There was a tension in that house. The Black Legion threats was already there. Okay, the Black Legion, the people who are trying to kill or suppress the black people in America. So that group of people, they were threatening his family because his father is a preacher. So his life is under threat. Malcolm's father. So that was the situation. And one day they were back home. They have seen that their mother was crying. Okay, why? What was the reason? Because there was a fight between the father and mother. The reason was that he killed one of the rabbits raised by his mother, their own pet, because his father wanted to eat rabbit meat. And she was crying. Initially, his mother tried to uh, try not to kill that rabbit, but his father, he was very adamant. And what happened? He killed the rabbit, and she started crying. Okay, and she was crying, and she was skinning that rabbit, and she was preparing the cook. She was preparing to cook the rabbit. And seeing this motion, his father, he became very angry and he left the house. Oh, ഒരു റാബിറ്റിനെ കറി വെച്ച് തരാൻ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് അവൾ എത്ര ഷോ കാണിക്കുന്നതെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് അയാൾക്ക് ദേഷ്യം വന്ന് അയാൾ ഇറങ്ങി. Saying this, his mother, she became very furious because she had, she always had a vision about what is going to happen in future. Okay, predict ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു അവസ്ഥ. So she tried to predict. She has an ability to predict what is happening next. So for the last few days, there was a vision keep on coming in her mind. That was the death of her husband. So there was a strong intuition of death of her husband. So at the moment Malcolm's father left the house, the mother, she rushed towards the street, and she screamed, see, Ollie, Ollie, okay, you're going, but please come back early. You should be back soon. Don't go out at night. But he didn't listen her. He didn't turn back. He just went away. She was very tensed. And seeing the changes in her mother's attitude, Malcolm asked what was the reason and said she had a vision of father's death. And she was not herself and she was crying. She was crying and she was nervous and upset at the time. And she finished cooking the rabbit and kept it over there and she was waiting for her husband. And it was bedtime, it was night, and he didn't back, and she felt strange, and she clutched all of her children towards her, and she was waiting for her husband. At that time, somebody came, and his mother, she went and met them, and immediately the children, they heard the screaming of their mother, and the police were there. Police came and they said something, and she was screaming, and immediately she went with them. And the children, they didn't understand what happened. Actually, the police men, they took her to the hospital, and where she has seen his father, who is dead, and his head, the skull is shattered. It was crushed in. And later the policemen said that somebody attacked him and they laid him across the streetcar, the tracks of a streetcar. So it's a kind of train, and that is why his skull is cut and it was crushed. So he died. And they also mention one more thing. He lived 2.5 hours in that condition. He lived 2.5 hours in that condition. Negroes then were stronger than they are now, especially Georgian Negroes. So this man, this preacher, Malcolm's father, he was from Georgia, and it is believed that the Georgian Negroes were strong. So even after they attacked him and laid him across the tracks, and even after it crushed him, he survived for 2 hours. But at that night, the children, they were not aware about their father's death. Next morning, what happened? They came to know that their father was no more, and they were crying, and a lot of people visited them, and the mother was crying, and at that time Malcolm was just 6 years. So they understood that finally the Black Legion had finally gotten him. They killed him, and by religion they all are Christians. And Malcolm saying that his funeral wasn't done in a church. Though he was a preacher, his funeral wasn't in a church. It was conducted in a funeral home. And during the funeral service, there was a black fly came down and landed on my father's face. See, a black fly on a black man's crushed face. Wilfred, his elder brother, he sprang up from his face, and the funeral services went smoothly, uh, and everything over. And they all are back to their house, four-room house, and the friends and the families, the relatives, everybody were there. The whom he had seen in Gavi meetings. Earlier we have seen how Malcolm and his father attended the Gavi meeting. So while attending that meeting, he had seen many people. So all those people were there to attend the funeral service of his father. So everybody was there, and the way children adjusted more easily than our mother did. Okay, the children, they could accept the father's death rather than their mother, and many people, especially ladies, were there to console her. And days went by, and the number of visitors were decreased. At that time, their mother, they started to think of how to redeem the two insurance policies their father had always been proudly carrying. So he possessed two insurance policies. Okay, uh, because his father knows that one day I will be killed. So after my death, I should ensure the safety of my family. So he had two insurance policies, and one is of a few amount, and another is for large amount. And after a few days of the death of her husband, Malcolm's mother, she claimed one of the policies. It is a smaller one. With that amount, what happened? It's more than $1,000 or something. With that, she paid all the funeral expenses and all. And then she went to claim the second policy, the policy of a huge amount. But unfortunately, they denied to provide that policy amount. They said that no, your husband, he committed suicide. It was not a murder, it was a suicide. So we couldn't provide that money. See how much she felt at that time. So Malcolm was saying that my mother was just 34 years at that time. When she became widow, she was just 34 years old. No husband, no provider, no protector to take care of 8 children and herself. So that was their situation. So what happened to that family after that? So that we can see, that we can discuss in the next class. I hope you have understood this much. The explanation was, I hope the explanation was enough for you. And so please go through these pages line by line. And with this, I'm winding up today's lecture. Thank you for listening patiently.